And we're back. And this is another episode of Mansa and How I See It. I'm Mansa, and this is how I see it. Last time I was here, yeah, we talked about the J train over there, depending on which way my mind is pointing to, and how old and historic that was. And this is Myrtle Avenue. Those are the Tompkins projects in the background, where I grew up at. I talked about the fact that I moved out of there when I was around 12. That's when my mom and dad split up. And it was a good thing for them. I was happy for them because they just weren't getting along anymore. Sometimes that's necessary in a relationship. But today, what I want to talk about is young people. And I think a lot of my shows are going to be targeting young people because that's what's important. I mean, I know there's a lot going on in the world today, and particularly with Black Lives Matter, because as usual, there's a lot of stuff going on that shouldn't be going on at this day and age, but a lot of things just haven't changed much. But there's a lot of people talking about it. I could be saying more on this situation, but there are other people that know more about these things and can handle it a lot better than me, and they're on the air and you're hearing it all day. That, along with the coronavirus. So, did I say corona? Yeah, I think that's right. Coronavirus or the COVID-19. I kind of tend to say anyway, we're going to talk about the young people. I want to address the young people in particular because as I look at the projects where I came from, and I talked about all the fun I had back in the days or whatever, and the things we did, play skelly and stickball and all that or whatever. I moved out when I was 12. I moved into Flatbush, as a matter of fact. That's where my father was living at. But I continued to come there because my mom still lived there. My two sisters were still living there. So I was every weekend pretty much. I was still over in the projects, hanging out with the people I knew. And like I said, that's where I came from, and that's what I knew. But one thing I realized as life went on, I was kind of always stuck in this thing with wanting to be like other people. I don't know, maybe I was like some kind of chameleon kid or whatever. Or maybe that's common with a lot of kids. I mean, you either lead or you follow. I don't think I was a follower as much as I just wanted to do the things that I thought were the coolest things to do. And I wanted to be, like the older kids or whatever. I wanted to dress like them. I wanted to talk like them. I wanted to do a lot of things like that I probably shouldn't have done, which led me down a dark road and path at certain points in my life, which weren't good for me. And that's what I want to tell younger people out there, children, teenagers, be yourself. Now, a lot of people say, well, what is that? What is being myself, whatever? Do the thing that you know that when you're alone and when you're living your life, whatever, it makes you happy. Not what you see other people do that makes them happy. Do what you feel, gets you through the day. I'm going to give you an example. When I was younger, I wanted to dress a certain way. I wanted to wear my hat a certain way. I wanted to, do things that other kids did. Well, pretty much the teenagers or whatever. And it was never really what I wanted to do. One of the things that drove me to doing that, strangely, was, and they may disagree, well, the one that's still with us and is still with us would disagree that they didn't push me to doing this, but they made fun of me because of the fact that I wouldn't smoke and I wouldn't curse. I was a goody two-shoes kid or whatever. And I didn't want to be thought of as this goody two-shoes kid or whatever. But when I look back on my life, and let me just say one thing for the record. I was not a coward. I was never a coward or whatever. But I wasn't one who liked to fight. I don't know too many people that really like to fight. Well, I guess some do. I mean, I fought when I had to fight. And living where I lived at, when you live in certain communities, yeah, you really don't have much of a choice but to fight or flight. You're either going to run or you're going to fight. And I wasn't one much for running. And so I fought. But I would have stayed out of trouble had I not had a sister that was a troublemaker all the time. She always started stuff with people. I talked about that last time. But I'm going to get away from that. The point I'm making today is, had I really addressed the things I like to do, I would have been put into another box. Because I like to draw. I used to love science. Still do. Still watch all the National Geographic stuff. Interested when man's going to the moon, all those kind of things or whatever. I didn't know anybody that played chess when I was younger, but there was a toy store around the corner on Tompkins on the way to PS23, and they sold a chessboard. So I went in there, and I picked myself up a chessboard. No, I'm not that guy. I'm not Steve Urkel. Nothing against Steve Urkel, but I was, I guess today, by today's standards, if you would call me, well, you can tell by the shirt I'm wearing. Pew pew, that's a gaming type thing or whatever, for those of you that don't understand. And yeah, I like video games. I like playing chess. I taught myself how to play chess at like age 11. Didn't know anybody that played it, not where I lived at, or didn't take the time to find out. Not until I moved, and when I moved into the new neighborhood, I met a couple of guys that did play chess, and that's where I really, learned to play a lot better. But again, like I said, I like to draw, I like to play chess, I like to, music was always my thing. I always like to listen to it. And DJing wasn't a big thing back then, and but it was people. There were people out there that were doing it, and I'm going to dispute a lot of you guys from the Bronx, whatever they may be listening to this. But I think Flowers and Maboya was jamming a long time before Kool Herc and I forget the other cat's name escapes me. Not taking nothing away from them, and maybe I'm wrong, but from my history, when I was like 10, and that had to be going back into the late 60s, very early 70s, these guys were jamming, and these were things I like to do, but a lot of the things I like to do would have been shunned upon, by people in my neighborhood or whatever. Oh, you into this, you into that, or whatever. I wasn't the guy trying to mack all the girls and all that kind of thing. I mean, because 12 years old, that was kind of common. I mean, when you come from a community like this, not having to say everybody was having sex, but people were boyfriend and girlfriend up or whatever. Everybody had a girlfriend, everybody had a boyfriend or whatever. I wasn't really concerned at that time or whatever. Other things I wanted, science was more important to me. Putting model spaceships together was more important to me back then or whatever. But that's my thing. But the point I'm making is stay true to yourself. Getting off that path of the thing that you like to do naturally can lead you to a darker place. It could take you somewhere where you didn't want to go. I mean, my friends and I, we used to get together on the weekends, and we get together at Keith's house. I'm gonna name drop again. He's no longer with us. God bless the dead. One of my best friends from back then. And we would sit around and we would watch the old Godzilla versus King Kong movies. I don't know if anybody remembers those or whatever, but yeah, the Godzilla versus King Kong movies. That was the thing that we did back then. We sat around and we watched those, and yeah, there it is. That was hysterical. Yeah, and it was guys in rubber suits. They didn't have the high technology, whatever. These were the old Japanese versions of King Kong and Godzilla. My favorite one, I don't remember the name of it, but King Kong picked up a tree and shoved it down Godzilla's throat. And Godzilla did a karate kick on him. I mean, literally jumped in the air and did a kick. And we talked about that for years or whatever. Whenever I would see Kiefer Curtis or whatever, we would talk about the fact how Godzilla jumped up in the air and did a karate kick in the middle of the movie. Yeah, that was typical back then. But it was hilarious. And those are the kind of things we like to do. But then you get caught up in being in the streets, and people were doing other things, they're smoking weed, or worse, depending on the people you knew, because heroin was a real thing back then in the late 60s and the 70s. It was around then in our neighborhood or whatever. And usually it was the older teenagers. I wasn't at that stage yet, but as I heard in later years, it did inflict most of the people I knew that lived there. A lot of people succumbed to it that was there, because it's hard to escape things that you really don't want to do or be a part of, because just by so many other people doing and being a part of it, you get caught up in it. It just becomes something that you end up doing by default or whatever. So to you young people, I'm saying stay out of that stuff. Stay away from the things that aren't really you. Be yourself. Be yourself. And that's usually what will make your future and your career. Just doing those things, whatever. Another thing I wanted to talk about was we have to talk about the COVID thing though, because I'm seeing a lot of people, young people, who really think they're invulnerable and that this won't affect them. This disease is affecting everybody, and I know a lot of people still talking about this too, but hopefully somebody's watching this video and they'll get the message as well that young people, old people, babies are catching this thing or whatever. I'm no scientist, like I said before, and I don't know how it works, and I'm sure most of you don't know either. And we can dispute what people are telling us on the news as to whether they're telling us the truth or lying or whatever. My thing is that I'm staying right here in this house, quarantined until they figure it out. And as the numbers keep dropping or going up or whatever, I'll be keeping an eye on that. But I don't want to be one of the numbers. And I'm saying this to you, to old and young, I'm addressing right now. I'm saying this to you to say, don't be stupid and go out there thinking you don't need a mask or the social distancing, and maybe you won't get sick. But then you'll come home and maybe you picked up something you're not even aware of yet, and your parents or grandparents or children who don't have the system you have end up contracting it. And they catch it, and it doesn't flow through them like it's going through you. They get sick. They go in the hospital, and they pass away because a lot of people are dying from this. You know, I don't know if the numbers across the racial divides are accurate, or if people of color, black people, brown people are dying solely because they have to go to work. Because there's a lot of people in our community that can't afford to be quarantined. We got to feed our children. You know, we're still going to go to those places where we work that are, you know, not really a healthy place. But if that's what you must do, that's what you must do. But don't be stupid and be like, well, I got to go to the club. I'm not staying here any longer. I'm going to the bar tonight, and then catch something dumb. I mean, when you could have avoided it. You know, another thing, one more last thing probably for today that I'm going to address is the N-word. I don't get it. All right, I'm from the 60s. All right, when I was younger, yeah, we said it too. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, I was a young person that did a lot of stupid things, like I said. But today, looking back on it, if I knew then what I know now, and I'm gonna be straight up, using the word nigga as a black person to define somebody as my homeboy, and I don't care if you want to say it's nigga, my nigga, and instead of the word nigga, it comes out of, well, it was used as a word to demean us. It's a derogatory statement that defines us as something is less than a human, with something, you know, that's something they define us as in slavery. Saying that we were worthless, weak, useless human beings, whatever. I'm not a nigga. I'm a supreme being. You know, if anything, I come from the one who made all of us, and he didn't make she, it, or whatever. If you want to define it as the universe, however you define your high power, or whatever, didn't make niggas. Made us in their image. Made us part of what they are. Or you could look at yourself as being part of that great supreme being or whatever. And call yourself God itself. But don't call yourself a nigga, because you're putting yourself down. And the thing that gets me about it is that people from our community that say it freely, and they say, well, this is what I call my homeboy. This is, you know, it's a term of affection or whatever. You know, my boy, that's my nigga. You know, that's my dog or whatever. Another term I'm not so thrilled about. But then when somebody who's not from your community, whether they be Asian or whether they're Caucasian or whether they're whatever, they say it. How can you say that it's a word that it's only good for you to use, but then you want to take it and say other people can't use it? To me, that tells me that you realize that there's something wrong with this word. There's something wrong with this word, this terminology to define yourself, and you don't like it when other people say it to you. So why are you saying it? Why are you keeping it alive? It's a word that should be dead. It's a word that should be taken out of our mouths, whatever. We shouldn't have it in our vocabulary. Let it go. Because there's so many other things that you could define yourself as. You know, like I said, you know, I chose the name Mansa because Mansa means sultan or king. You know, that's who I see myself as. I'd be damned if I call myself a nigga or a dog. Because I'm not that at all. I'm a supreme person or whatever. I come from the divine. I'm part of everything. If you want to call it the Force, I'm a big Star Wars fan. If you want to call it the Force, I'm part of the Force or God's light. I'm part of the supreme, the divine or whatever. Not no nigga. You know, and you can say it is what you want again, but it is what it is. So don't get mad when somebody else comes to you and says, yo, that's my nigga, you know, niggas this and that. And they may not be using it in what you consider a derogatory term. They're using it the same way you're using it. Because let's be real, hip-hop has crossed all divides or whatever. You got people in Russia that are hip-hop. You got people in Britain that are hip-hop. People in Africa are hip-hop. That's crossed the line that's bonded people that were tearing each other apart in different places, bringing them together, so they want to be a part of this culture, and they're not using it. A lot of them, some of them still are, don't get me wrong, but a lot of them are using it as a term of affinity just as you are. When you're not looking, they're calling each other, then they go, whatever. But when you hear it, you know, sets you on fire. You get incensed about the fact, oh, this white boy said nigga, he used the N-word. You made it okay for him to say it, so stop saying it. Women aren't bitches. Our women aren't bitches, and I'm out and we're not dogs. So stop that. All right, get off. Hey. Stuff making noise over here. I don't want that happening. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, that's one last thing I want to say before I leave you guys. Oh, one more last thing I want to deal with. Families that have adult children that are still living at home with them. And I don't mean like just 17, you're 18, you're in college, you're in school. You ain't even gotta be college. You're in school, you're working, you're contributing to the family. Times so hard, it's not easy to find a place to live out here, whatever. But you got adult children that are living at home with their parents that aren't doing anything. They're hanging out, they're out in the corners or whatever. They're not contributing anything to the family, and they're putting stress on their families. And some of them are working, and they got kids. And and the whole family is living in their parents' home, whether it be an apartment or a house. Listen, man, we've done our jobs as parents. I'm a grandfather today, and I have grandchildren, of course, from a grandfather. But I have children that I've raised to take care of themselves and to take care of their children. And it's fine. I love to see them come, love to see them hang out over here. But like my wife likes to say, love to see them come, love to see them go. Because it comes a point in your life where you've worked, you've done the right thing, and hopefully now they can go out into the world on their own. I call it the fly or die thing or whatever, because I feel like the birds in the nest or whatever, we catch the worms for you. We show you how to eat the worms and where we got them from. We even teach you how to fly. And at some point when it's time for you to fly from the nest, you leave. You go and you fly from the nest. You don't go out there from the nest, find another bird, come back with that bird, have more baby birds, and fill up the nest with your whole flock of birds or whatever. No, it's time to go. And like I said, whether you're about something or whether you're not, move on. Let your parents enjoy their lives, alone in their own time. Sure, you could still visit and see them, but make a plan to have your own thing and let them have their own thing. Let them live their lives. Because it's just too much of that going on. And we don't get older just so that we can keep taking care of you forever. I love you. I love you kids. Well, I love my children. I don't even want to use that word kids. But I love my children. And I don't intend for them to be under me forever. A lot of times you find it's I'm not even go there. But yeah, I love my children. But I don't intend for them to stay with me forever. Let them go, and children, move on and do your own thing. At some point you gotta do your own thing. That's the DT banner. DT's Dex and Treachery, that's a guild that I'm the guild leader of. And again, I'm a geek. YouTube influencer, I don't know about all that stuff or whatever, but I play video games, and recently Star Wars The Old Republic is one of them I do. You may want to look at some of my other videos on this site if you're looking at this one, and along with that, and Dead or Alive and some other stuff. I do some voiceovers for those as well. Everybody, be yourself, love your children, love your men, love your women love your men. Everybody take care of each other. And I want to leave with something, if I can get it the right way, something that a DJ back in the 70s used to say. Famous DJ, one of the first ones that brought it to stereo to the black community, Frankie Crocker. And you old heads know what I'm talking about. Frankie used to say, may you live as long as you want and never want as long as you live. May each of you live to be 100 years old, and me 100 but minus a day, so that I never have to know that nice people like you passed away. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a good week. And like I said, take care of yourselves.
You decide if you're ever gonna let me know. Yeah.